Israel was talking about his personal beard journey, and I think it's pretty fitting since he has the mustache for it. What's the best way to take care of my mustache?
The There is an article that got written or that we collaborated with. I think it was like a year ago. I
Oh yeah,
believe
blog
it's
article.
yeah, the blog article. It's still on the site. I believe. I will tell you that if you don't get a chance to tune in today, that article pretty much answers it all. The one mistake that I made in my stash journey was I call it the triangle. So when you kind of come down off of your nose, if you kind of like make a triangle, out here is where the your base hairs are that help hold. Oops, as I hit the microphone, help hold if your stash has the ability to go in that length. Not everybody has a genetic stash that can grow 9 inches and they can tuck it behind their ears.
Yeah, that's kind of like the whole each part of your facial hair has different like terminal length.
Right.
And guys like Israel are kind of they're not super rare, but they are a lot more rare as far as the mustache game goes in terminal growth, terminal length. Mitch is like that too.
Right.
But for sure.
Agreed. Yeah. That base hair in the middle, that's the part that everybody usually gives in. And every time I drink my beer, it's in my beer, it's in my food. I got to hold my stash. For the longest, when I don't do my stash and it's kind of parted, I still have to hold up underneath it as I eat. That amazes people for some reason. Most of the time, people think I'm holding my nose because I don't like the taste of what I'm eating or something.
The first time I ever seen that was Jeff Langham. We were
Yep.
That was over at Worlds in Austria in 2015, I think. I seen him eating, and he's kind of like pulls his whole like arm in like this and lifts his stash up,
Yep.
and then inserts the burger. So it was like I never thought I don't have that issue, so I never thought about that problem. But
you have to commit to it. That's you're
Definitely.
either going to do it or you're not. And I'm a firm believer that a lot of people just don't. It is a commitment to be able to do it. But I will say that if you're planning on growing your stash out, the thing that I didn't learn out of the gate was getting a stash comb and then training the hair while it's early. And that's using a little bit of, it doesn't take a lot of beard oil in that area, but using like a balm off of the start, just with like a nice medium hold, but just keep training it with a mustache comb, not a beard comb, a mustache comb, and keep training it as it's growing longer and longer and longer. And then once it gets a little bit longer, then usher in a mustache wax. You guys produce a really kick-ass mustache wax for the smaller stash as you get out into the length that I'm at. If you want to get into that type of style, you're looking at got to be glued for about half of the stash and then a competition wax for the tips.
Yeah, Jay's recipe for the competition wax. We got to get that out into the wild, man. Totally.
I'm wearing it today. I still have it in.
I've talked to a lot of guys that have used it out in the wild, like for beard comps, stuff like that, and they're like, hands down, it's the best wax I ever used. And it's a shame we haven't sold it yet. It was kind of like sourcing issues at first, but I think Jay's got it wrapped up here, and hopefully we can kick that out, spring, summer.
Was definitely just a sourcing issue with a couple of the ingredients, because I mean, one of those ingredients is a natural resin, and harvesting that resin is not apparently not the easiest thing or the most efficient thing in the world to do. So it does get, for the amount of resin that I want, it's tough to get your hands on. But I have been working on it and making some contacts, so I know that's not far. I know it's been a while, but I know it's not far out now. So, and I appreciate the compliment, but.
Well, I will say, like most Mad Viking products, a little goes a long way. The tin that you gave me, 3 years ago? I'm still like 7/8 of the product still left.
Nice. Maybe I need to make it not quite as good.
Yeah.
Don't make it last as long.
It takes one hell of a hot shower to get it out of my face. I know that. I told Big J the one day, I'm like, yeah, it's one molecule away from super glue.
one corner of your stash grow quicker and longer on one side than the other. Sometimes that happens, yes. It just depends on the hair and the part of your face. Those things are possible to happen. The only thing you can do with that in that case is to trim the side that's getting a little bit longer if it bothers you that much, or you could try training it like Israel was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you're training it to go out over your lips, so to make eating and all those things, or even just for appearance, it can mend that size difference to the point where you're not going to notice it. But if it's something where you want your stash to be natural and pull down and it's longer, then the only thing you can do is trim it there, and the other side will eventually probably catch up.
There are two things also that if you're a smoker, I understand. I used to smoke. I get it. Smoking, cigars, cigarettes, whatever, it kills the mustache. That constant, nicotine and the smoke coming up through it. I've seen it time and time again. The other thing is, I call it the intellectual. There are people that'll come to me and they'll be like, "So my beard, it's short on this side, but it's long on this side." And I'll say, "You're left-handed."
Mhm.
And they're like, "How'd you know?" And I'm like, "Because you stroke your beard like this, like the intellectual."
Oh, I gotcha.
Same thing with a mustache. People, they don't realize it that COVID taught you not to touch your face. Everybody's touching their face. But yeah, it's one of those things. The same thing. You don't realize that you're doing it, but you actually break the hair the more you touch your facial hair. So that's where you can end up with that ledge on the side of your beard because you're unknowingly stroking it.
We got also a guy in chat. One Feather says, "What can I use to get my stash to stay curly
Curled.
or curled?" Yeah, he just put curl. I'm assuming it's curled.
Yeah, and that's that's training in mustache wax. Or you can use a little bit of beard balm depending on the length, but the longer it gets, you're going to need to use some training wax like the Mad Viking mustache wax. That's how you get. I know Israel's stash is a little hard to see with the red lights, but he's probably got one of the most amazing stashes almost on the planet. So
you can lean in really close to the camera, into your camera, so they could see what you got rocking there. You could hang a coat on that motherfucker.
Looks like you're gonna take your eye out.
Yeah,
It gets Wi-Fi.
that's nice.
So that is definitely a combination of training, beard oil, mustache wax, and then when he styles for competition like that, he also uses. I know he uses what got to be glued on that too. So
yeah, half of it is you start in the center and you just work out, and then you kind of build that frame to get to the curl. But I would say the remaining half of the tines that come up, and this isn't even the longest. It's still in its growth phase 2 terminal. It'll go up over my hat when it's at that stage.
You keep your hat on in windy days.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the gotta be glued stuff, we were at a Bearded Villains comp down in Nashville last weekend, and there's a couple guys in the style category that I was talking to and recommended gotta be glued because they had some just general wispiness to it, and they were using I forget what wax. I don't want to talk bad about any companies or wax or anything like that. But I recommended gotta be glued, and they never even heard of it, and they were in the style category, which really is pretty crazy because I thought everybody kind of like in the beard world, as far as competition goes, knows about that. But
there are, if you have never been to a beard competition and you have questions about styling in particular, like some of these crazy mustaches that Israel's rocking, or even some of the freestyle beards that are amazing, go to a beard comp in your local area, find these guys and talk to them. They'll share any information they have with you.
Yep.
Most of them are insanely nice, and they're just happy to be around doing their thing. So they'll definitely, don't be afraid to approach those guys and ask them what they do and how they do it. They'll definitely let you know.